Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Harry Fling Wrestling. I'm your host, Harry Fling. Excuse my voice. I was at Monday Night Raw this past week at Madison Square Garden with my friend, and boy, I had the time of my life. My voice is shot from all the screaming, and I have a little bit of a cold, so please forgive my voice this week. But I do want to cover a Survivor Series I'd like to rewrite before the actual event happens a week from this Saturday. What event will I be talking about? This will be today rewriting the 1996 Survivor Series live from Madison Square Garden, November the 17th, 1996. How ironic! It was 29 years ago. This past Monday, I was in the arena that Survivor Series was at. What are the odds of that? So how apropos that we're covering this, right? So it wasn't a bad pay-per-view. It had some good Survivor Series matches. It had that awesome Brett Austin match, though I liked the WrestleMania 13 match a lot better. If I were to distinguish the two, I'd say a 4 3/4 match at Survivor Series for Brett and Austin, definitely 5 stars for the Mania match. I could go on and on about that one, but I probably did in rewriting WrestleMania 13. You could check out that video from a while back. So today we're going to rewrite it, but we will keep one match the same, but then the rest of them will be Survivor Series traditional elimination matches. As you know, I'm a big fan of that, so we're going to keep it that way. So the only match I'd keep the same here is actually our main event, which would be for the World Wrestling Federation Championship. Shawn Michaels defending against Psycho Sid. So it took me a while to realize this because I was only 7 when I first watched it, but Shawn, as much as a babyface champion as he was going into the event, he was getting booed out of the building as I've gone back and rewatched it. His fan support was starting to wane a little bit because I guess they wanted somebody of a traditional size being a champion, the fans did, or they started to gravitate someone that had more heelish characteristics, guys like Sid and Steve Austin. Now, Sid was a great babyface, but he was able to keep some heelish characteristics that made him stand out in the first place, so I think that might be a reason. So the decision was made to put the belt on Sid, and I'd still go for it here because then it'll still lead to that rematch at the Royal Rumble in '97 in San Antonio where Shawn wins the belt back. So I don't think I'd really change much of this match. The fact that he's a world champion, he can have his own match. There doesn't need to be an elimination style with these two. And they had met previously at Survivor Series in that wild card match with heels versus faces. I think Shawn and Sid, yeah, they were on opposing teams, I believe. But I have to go back and rewatch it. It's been too long. So that match I would keep the same and have Sid still be the victor here, even though I'm more of a Shawn guy. Still have the incident with Jose Lothario where you hit him with the camera, the television camera, and that'll come into play. That just adds more fuel to the fire, which we like in our storylines. So take nothing away from that. Let's see. So that would be the only match I'd keep. I'd actually put that match third on the card, believe it or not, right in the middle, because there's another match we'll get to. I'm not going in chronological order here, but I will now. I just wanted to get that one non-Survivor Series match, non-elimination match out of the way. But what I'd open the card with is a match with somewhat of the same participants, but I'd switch it up a little bit. We'd have a battle of all the tag teams here. We have one team with Henry and Phineas Godwin alongside Bart Gunn and Freddie Joe Floyd, teaming up to take on Owen Hart, the British Bulldog, Billy Gunn, and the Sultan. So actually the team captains would be the Gunns. Team Bart Gunn and then Team Billy Gunn. Bart Gunn's team would have Henry and Phineas Godwin and Freddie Joe Floyd. Team Billy Gunn would have Owen Hart, British Bulldog, and the Sultan. Now, I have to tell you, the talent pool was very thin in 1996, especially the latter part, so it was really hard for me to pick people for these matches. There just weren't a whole lot of people to choose from. So late 96, early 97, while the storylines were starting to get intense, the talent pool, there just wasn't a lot of people to choose from as far as talent to work with. So numbers play a big factor here. So the Gunns just broke up a month prior at In Your House Buried Alive. It was their rematch for the tag titles against Owen and Bulldog, who were the reigning tag champs. Sonny had had enough. Billy was more distracted with trying to regain the praises of Sonny, while Bart just wanted to regain the gold. So they had separate motives for their tag team title rematch. And they definitely weren't on the same page. You could tell the Gunns were kind of growing apart. Billy wasn't doing the whole cowboy shtick anymore. He was trying to steer away from it, if you will. So Billy and Bart. And then you have the Godwins just being challengers for Owen and Bulldog's tag title belts, which they were challengers on a number of occasions, but were unsuccessful each time. Godwins were like the bushwhackers, and Enzo and Cass, teams like that who in Crime Time who didn't need tag team gold to get over. In fact, those teams never won it. But the Godwins did for a week, and that was about it. And then another time for all of 2 nights. Now, as for Freddie Joe Floyd and the Sultan, you got 2 jobbers here. The Sultan, as we know, is Rikishi. Freddie Joe Floyd was Tracy Smothers in ECW as part of the Full-Blooded Italians. There was nothing Italian about him. So they would just round out the team nicely. I think in this one, I would have, so I didn't actually come up with the winners yet. I think I'd have Bart go over in this one. He'd be the sole survivor. So you get the Sultan and Freddie Joe Floyd out pretty quickly. Then the Godwins out, and then I think I'd have Bart tackle Owen and Bulldog, take advantage of a miscue, and then be down to him and Billy, and then maybe at the next In Your House or maybe on Raw they'll have a match, Billy and Bart. But I wanted to save that for Mania if I was rewriting Mania, so we won't get too much into that. So Bart would be the sole survivor in this contest. The next match here, this one I'd leave pretty much the same, maybe except for one participant. This is Team Mark Marrow, captaining one team with Rocky Maivia debuting, Jake the Snake Roberts, and the Stalker. Originally, Mark Henry was supposed to be in this match, but I think he suffered an injury in a Special Olympics event with a tug of war or something, so he was out. Their opposition, team captained by Hunter Hearst Helmsley, consisting of Jerry the King Lawler, Goldust. Now, Crush would have been there in real time, but I'm going to put him in another match. And we'll replace him with Justin Hawk Bradshaw, later become JBL. So, this match, it wouldn't be all that much different. I'd still have Rocky Maivia be the sole survivor. Marrow and Helmsley, I'd try to keep them in towards the end and definitely give Marrow the elimination over Helmsley because he's going to be coming up short a lot in their matches for the IC title. They're not going to put the belt back on Marrow. Helmsley will have it, and then Rocky Maivia will eventually get the belt off of him. Jake Roberts, I think at this point he was starting to relapse a little bit, so you could tell the weight gain was starting to become apparent with him. He just wasn't taking care of himself. Now, the funny thing about the last 2 opposing competitors, you have the Stalker and Justin Hawk Bradshaw. It would be only a month or 2 later that they'd actually form a tag team called the New Blackjacks. Blackjack Bradshaw and Blackjack Wyndham, because the Stalker's Barry Windham. Now, if you remember correctly, at the actual event in real time, Stalker came out with no face paint on, which kind of undermines the whole gimmick of the Stalker. No camouflage painting, and he's not hiding out in the bushes like his namesake would do. So, it wasn't a whole much meaning to Stalker. It was just Barry Windham in a WWF t-shirt with the sleeves cut off. So I'd have Rocky be the sole survivor here and have him eliminate Hunter Hearst Helmsley. Ooh, that'll really put him over. Eliminate the Intercontinental Champion last. Jake Roberts and Jerry Lawler might have a leftover feud from SummerSlam. We'll see what happens there. So yeah, Rocky would be the sole survivor, and it's only noted this match because Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, made his debut that night, and fans were obviously cheering him. It wouldn't be till like the winter spring of '97 when the Die Rocky Die chant started to come to the forefront, and fans were rebelling against Rocky Maivia, so that wouldn't happen just yet. So Rocky's good. Next match here, and then of course we'd have the world title match, which I already just covered, so I'm not going to repeat myself. That'd be redundant. So, now we go to another Survivor Series match, but not our main event yet. This would be Team Captain Farouk, alongside with Crush, the recently formed Nation of Domination, and their partners, the fake Razor Ramon and fake Diesel. I've covered them a bunch in on this channel, so you all know who they are. Their opposition will be captained by the recent Hall of Famer, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, coming out of retirement for one night, so he says, alongside the debuting Flash Funk, Bob Sparkplug Holly, and Double J Jesse James. It was a big-time jobber match, so this will be the cool-down match after a world title match, so it's actually in a good spot. It's a hard act to follow, maybe, but it's okay. They followed Brett and Austin in real time, so who's complaining here? So, sorry my hair's sticking up a little bit. Just got out of the shower. So not a whole lot of feuding going on here. It's just a mishmash of different competitors, which this was in real time. So Farouk just became a militant leader, kind of like Malcolm X. He dropped that goofy costume of the Roman gladiator. It was a ridiculous outfit, that dopey hat. leather blue hat that looked like, he was a real-time Roman gladiator. So now he's dressed as a militant leader in all black, and Crush is his first disciple that he enlisted in his group alongside his lawyer Clarence Mason, because Clarence worked for both, so it made sense to put Farouk and Crush together. Wouldn't get Savio yet, but he'll come up a little bit later on in this video. Fake Razor and Fake Diesel would have Jim Ross's backing, though we know this angle is going to fail. So Jim Ross would most likely be on color commentary, but play up the heel role, supporting Razor and Diesel, saying it's really them. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, as opposed to Rick Bogner and Glenn Jacobs. Superfly Jimmy Snuka. See, like I said before, the talent pool was very thin. Wasn't a whole lot to choose from. So, I think WWF is going to be desperate around this time period, as am I, trying to rewrite this. So I'm pretending I'm a writer or working backstage as a producer during this time period, whatever. Flash Funk, the former Too Cold Scorpio from ECW. I think he had a time in WCW as Too Cold Scorpio as well. He'll be debuting with the Funkettes, Nadine and Tracy. That gimmick was very much akin to what Brodus Clay would become in 2012, the Funkasaurus, with his Funkadactyls, Naomi and Cameron. Flash Funk wouldn't get many wins, many W's throughout his career, at least in the WWF. Bob Sparkplug Holly. Well, what can I say about him hasn't already been said? He's just another good hand to have on the team, honestly, just to kind of help things out. Not much as far as getting that gimmick over. It's just kind of there. Excuse me. Pardon me. And then the next guy, and the last guy rounding out the team is Double J, the real Double J, Jesse James. And he spells James with two M's because he's trying to sound like Jeffrf, JARRET. So the whole storyline with Jesse James here is that this goes back to In Your House 2, The Lumberjacks, my first show. When Jeff Jarrett was quote-unquote singing With My Baby Tonight that evening, he actually wasn't singing, he was lip-syncing, and we all know that. The real singer was the road dog, Jesse James. Brian Armstrong. Brian James is his real name. So, in the fall of 96, Brian Armstrong was brought back to the World Wrestling Federation and did these short little interviews with Jim Johnston, the creator of many of the greatest themes in all of WWF, WWE. And he said, I'm the man behind the music. And even Jim Johnston brought out his guitar and strummed a few chords. And you heard Jesse James actually singing it. Spend my day working hard on the go, but the hands on the clock keep spinning too slow. Just a little anecdote here. Bruce Pritchard often will sing this on the podcast with Conrad Thompson, or at least he did several years ago. I think this was about 6-7 years ago prior to COVID on Something to Wrestle With. He would often sing in this very slow kind of dirge. Spend my days working hard on the go, but the hands on the clock keep spinning too slow. That was Bruce Pritchard. So you could tell Bruce is kind of having fun with this gimmick as a producer here. And so they expected it to override what the original Double J could do, but of course that didn't happen. So Jesse James just kind of fell into the background here. And let's see, what can I say about this match? I would definitely have the heels go over. Definitely Farouk and Crush be the sole survivors. Razor and Diesel would probably get eliminated early. James, Holly, and Funk would be out like that, and then Snuka would probably put up a good fight, but it wouldn't be enough, and that would demonstrate the dominance of the Nation of Domination, get them off to a great start. In real time, this match was Farouk, Vader, Fake Razor, Fake Diesel, taking on Jimmy Snuka, Yokozuna, Savio Vega, and Flash Funk, and that ended in a double disqualification after 9 minutes. So you can tell they didn't care much about this match, and probably in the long run, in the grand scheme of things, nobody's going to really care about this match, and then you could probably remind them of it years down the line, years down the road. They'll say, oh yeah, I almost forgot that it happened, and kind of like me, I guess. So, Farouk and Crush being the sole survivors, and then it leads us to our main event of the evening. Well, we got a lot of big names in this one. Since Brett and Austin are going to have a much better match at WrestleMania 13, I thought I'd save it. And so people might disagree that I shouldn't take those two out of having a singles match, but it's okay, because I think they're going to fare well in this one. Team Bret Hart with The Undertaker, Yokozuna, and Savio Vega. This would be Yokozuna's probably final WWF appearance. He was 641 pounds. He was sent away to lose weight, but he kept sneaking out to McDonald's and Pizza Huts. in the area and not putting in the work and effort he was supposed to. So his weight kept ballooning, and 641 was the heaviest he got, and he was just a detriment health-wise to the World Wrestling Federation because, God forbid, something happened to him in that ring. They didn't want to be held responsible. So it was a calculated risk putting Yokozuna in this match, but they did in real time. And Savio Vega was still hanging on as a babyface, wouldn't quite join the Nation yet, but that won't come till the new year. The opposition is Team Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think this would be Stone Cold's first Survivor Series elimination match. He actually only competed in it once, and that was in 2001 with the Alliance. And his team would have Mankind, Vader, and the Executioner. Now, Mankind and Vader would become a team in real time, challenging for the Owen and Bulldog for the belts at WrestleMania 13. And they had Paul Bearer as a common manager, but at this point in time, Cornette is still Vader's manager, so the transition for Vader from Cornette to Bear hasn't quite happened yet, but it will quietly over time. And the Executioner, as you know, is Terry Gordy from the Fabulous Freebirds. And Executioner was just another pawn in Mankind's scheme against The Undertaker, and they would have an Armageddon Rules match in West Palm Beach at the next pay-per-view, In Your House It's Time. Wow, a lot of star power here for the most part. So, what are we going to do with this match? Well, this would be kind of Bret Hart's comeback match, so I think Bret would have to be the sole survivor here, based on that fact alone. So, the eliminations here. You get Savio Vega out pretty early. Yokozuna would have to be counted out. I could see him and Vader kind of brawling to a double count-out type angle. Executioner, Taker would take him out, and then have it down to the final four. Bret, Undertaker, Austin, Mankind. That would have been a good Raw tag team main event back then, honestly. So, I would have, Undertaker take out Mankind, the Tombstone. And then with Stone Cold, I don't think he'd get him out quite with a stunner. I could see Mankind kind of brawling with Taker and Taker using a chair post-elimination of Mankind, and that could get him disqualified. And then we're down to Bret and Austin, and then they'd have this long, intense battle. Originally, I wanted Austin to go over, but this is Bret's comeback match, so he kind of needs the win a little bit. Austin will screw him over later in the Rumble. So, Bret's going to get that match, but we're going to give Bret and Austin at least 15 minutes alone in that ring. This will be a long match. Get everyone else out not as quickly as you can. Get Yokozuna, Savio Vega, Vader, and Executioner out as fast as you can. Have it come down to the final four. Then take your time with eliminating Mankind and Undertaker, and then have Bret and Austin take like the last 12, 13 minutes of the match themselves. Then Bret could do that ending where Austin puts him in a sleeper, $1 Million Dream, and then he walks himself up the turnbuckle and reverses it into a pinfall cover and get the 1, 2, 3 on Austin and the Garden. That'd be a good happy ending because Bret isn't quite at the heel tweener point yet where he's getting screwed over constantly. You know, he's always complaining about that. That won't happen until after It's Time, where Shawn screws him out of his title match against Sid. Because, of course, by this point, Bret and Shawn's real-life rivalry is well documented with fans who follow the Wrestling Observer or any other news source behind the scenes, reading the newsletters, dirt sheets. There weren't really many dirt sheets on America Online at the time. But you get the gist of what I'm saying. So, yeah, altogether, this event would have 4 traditional Survivor Series elimination matches and 1 championship match, very akin to Survivor Series 91, when you had Hogan and Taker for the world title, for the WWE title. And, I don't think I'd do a free-for-all match on this one. There just isn't enough people to warrant, to justify another Survivor Series elimination match. WCW was kicking our asses in the ratings war. The NWO was on fire. Goldberg hadn't entered the scene yet, but the cruiserweights were really kicking ass and taking names. So, yeah, a lot of stiff competition in the world of pro wrestling at this time. And, the sole survivors, I wouldn't do that whole grand finale match of survival like they did in 1990. I think that would be kind of phased out by this point in time. So altogether, you'd have Bart Gunn, Rocky Maivia, and Bret Hart as the babyface survivors, and then you have Farouk and Crush as the heel survivors, and Psycho Sid winning the WWE Championship at the end of the night. And, then we fade to black. And, it was interesting. You know, anytime they have shows at the Garden, I will end with saying this. I always love the Willis Reed Tunnel. Willis Reed, I can't remember if it was 1970 or 1973, brought the New York Knicks, their NBA World Championship. They brought them to the finals and won the whole tournament. So I think it was in this. It was it was like in the fourth quarter, and he was hobbling. He had a bad ankle or bad knee or something, and then he came out through that entrance tunnel, which the wrestlers used to come out to. So that's why they call it the Willis Reed Tunnel. Now, I'm not the best basketball historian, so my facts might be a little skewed, but take it as you will. And then the Survivor Series had this panoramic view of the city, so the doors in the Willis Reed Tunnel would open and close like this. And I used to call it the sushi because it looked like a sushi roll, the squished slash sushied entranceway. Because the entranceway, the ring's right here, and the entranceway is here, so it'd be a short walk. Now, if you were like the Astrodome, it'd be a big stadium. But Madison Square Garden's not a stadium. You can only hold 20,000 people. But they made the aisle a little longer since they renovated it back in 2009 or 2010. So the Willis Reed Tunnel's not there anymore, and the numbers of the seats used to be either in this teal color or this fuchsia color. So lots changed in the Garden. The Garden's a very special place for me. Madison Square Garden I'm talking about, right in the heart of Manhattan. So I'd go back in a heartbeat. Nothing like a great New York crowd for wrestling. And that's pretty much all I've got. And thank you for putting up with me as I'm recovering from screaming at Monday Night Raw the other night. And this has been another great edition of Harry Fling Wrestling. I am your host, Harry Fling. And until next time, everybody, bye-bye.